Hello everyone. In the previous chapter, we saw how to insert an element into our project, as well as the different types of elements that we can use. In this chapter, we will see the different properties that we can apply to our elements. Let's open our program and add an empty thumbnail. Its time, as well as the time and type of the transition, is not important in this chapter. Let's open a thumbnail editor. Make sure you are in the tab Properties. If such was not the case, click on Properties to display this tab. For the moment, the tab is completely empty, and its content will vary depending on the type of element that we select in the list of elements located just below it. Let's add an image in our thumbnail. It can be in any format, any size, and also in landscape, portrait or square mode, it doesn't matter. As our image is not linked to any other elements, it will perfectly cover the screen without overflowing. Here are some examples. The results obtained with a landscape image in 4/3 format, a portrait image in this same format, a square image, regardless of its size in pixels, and a landscape image in 16:9 format. This is also valid for videos, frames, masks and color gradient objects. Now let's see the properties we can give to our element. First of all, you must know that each element has its own properties, that if you duplicate the element, either in a thumbnail or use it in another thumbnail, these will be the properties you define the copy or duplications, which will be taken into account, and not those of the original. Example, if we use the same image 3 times to create a triptych, the properties of each may be different from the others. So, let's look at this in a bit more detail. First, for all element types, we have the object name. When you insert an element of the image or video type, this name is originally that of your file without its extension. For other object types, this will be the object type with an object number, automatically incremented by object type. Let's focus on the types, image and video for this chapter. In this field you can give a name, which will designate in your project, for example, image 1, it will not modify your original file in any way, just like using all the properties, it only affects your project, not the original file. The second contains the original name of your file, and, if you click on its command, open the small down arrow to its right, you can change the file and replace it with another. This new one will automatically take any property settings already defined for the image or video you are replacing. The following line, main object, allows you to define an index for your object. If you click on the checkbox, this value will become 1, or indexed automatically, if other objects are already included as main object. In short, the function of this property is useful if you need to use the same image several times in your thumbnail, which will allow you to modify them all in one operation, as well as for the creation of style, because the main objects will be those which will take the desired images in the style, while the non-main elements will be used as is in the style. We will come back to this in the chapter on styles. The following line enables you to soften your image of origin. It is in maximum sharpness, that is to say, with less 100. The option Low quality resampling allows you to resample your image in a smaller format adapted to the program, which makes it possible to limit the size of memory used by the program. The option Convert to alpha image adds the alpha channel, or transparency channel, to your image. This command will be especially useful in the use of masks, and we will come back to it in due course. The option Animated image is useful for animated GIF or TIFF type images, allowing you, when you check this option, and using the menu that is then added, to configure their animations. The option, Aliasing, activated by default, allows you to soften the edges of an image, and is useful when an image is rotated, avoiding having a staircase effect on their edges. The two following options, aspect cropping and image cropping, are very important for the creation of your project. They allow you to define the format and the part of the image used, and this, independently of the format and the original size of the image or video used. Each of these options, when checked, adds a series of controls. In order, aspect cropping adds the command aspect ratio, and an insert allowing you to define it, either by a predefined value, or by the value that you will enter on the keyboard under the shape, width, height. To understand this function, let's use an image in 4/3 format, regardless of its size in pixels. We work in 16:9, and we want it to have this format. Activate the command aspect cropping, and, in its drop-down menu, select the aspect ratio, 16:9. Here, now, our image has been cropped on its height, to cover exactly the 16:9 space of the screen. Attention, the more the basic format of the image is different from that desired, the larger the crop part of the image will be. So if you want a 16:9 landscape format, don't use a 9:16 portrait format, as a large part of it would be cut to match the desired format. So, thanks to this command, we can give the format we want to our image. Second, image cropping. Attention, this command will take into account the image format obtained with the command crop aspect, if it is activated, and not the base format of the image. This command opens 4 fields, where you can enter the cut values of your image, base, they are expressed in percentage of the size, and therefore, do not take into account the number of pixels of the size of your image, which is in itself very useful. Because, if you modify your image by another one of different size in pixels, it will always be the same proportion of the image which will be used. The different fields are left, allowing you to cut the part in percentage from the left edge of the image. Top, to cut from the top edge. Right, to cut from the right edge. And bottom, to cut from the bottom edge. Attention, the total of the top and bottom values, and the top, left and right, cannot exceed 100%. If this were the case, for example, you enter the value 60% into the field left, then, you want to enter the value 70% into the field right, their sum being greater than 100%, the difference between this sum and 100% will then be subtracted from the inverse field, from the last to which you apply value, and therefore, the left field will be modified to the value 30% automatically, so that the total of the corresponding fields does not exceed 100%, either here, 30 plus 70 equals 100%. We will see when creating objects using element parts, such as a tube for example, that these settings are very important. You should also know that during a multi-direction cropping of an element, the size of the element obtained will always cover the entire space, or frame, to which it relates. Either, here is our image without cropping. And after cropping to take the 20% square, central. You will therefore also have to take this into account when you want to create multi-element objects. Finally, we have the command border, which, when activated, places a border starting from the edge of your image, outwards from it, by a dimension expressed as a percentage of the image. Please note that your image will be resized so that the entire image plus the border covers the base size of the image. If we take, for example, a border of 50%, the total of the percentage values of the image, plus twice the border, will be reduced to 100%, which gives in our example, 100% image, plus 2 times 50% border, equals 200%, so the actual size of the displayed image will be 100%, the size of the image, divided by the result of 100%, the total size, divided by 200%, the size obtained with the border, that is 100% divided by 2, equals 50%. Yes, well, it's just to be able to calculate it, because generally, you will set your border on site. The color of this one is defined and modifiable in the field color, which, by clicking, opens the color editor of the program, and where you can choose the desired color. So much for image and video type elements. The commands of the common space and action on mouse click will be seen a little later in our tutorials, because they will be valid for practically all types of elements. In the next chapter, we will see the parameters specific to video type elements. Thank you for your attention, and see you soon. Katerina and Patrick.